everyone, it's Leanne. Welcome to another video on my channel. I have a card to share with you, and I'm using some new techniques with this card that I've made. So I'll share with you how I create the card here. So to begin, I'm not going to start with a card base. I'm going to use this blue paper that I bought from Michael's, and it's sort of a cardstock but a little bit lighter. And then I have some pattern paper to go with it as well. And then this is the stamp set I'm using. So this is from Sizzix, and it's with Tim Holtz stamp designs, and it's using an embossing folder, and it comes with the framelits or the dies as well as the rubber stamps, and you can see the embossing folder in the back, which I'm excited to use. And then I have some generic circle dies. I'm also going to use this stamp set from Lawn Fawn. This is the Happy Halloween stamp set, and then I have the Everyday Sentiment, I think that's called, the borders. I'll put the name in the description below, and those are Lawn Fawn dies as well. So I'm going to trim my card base first. So I want to make this 2 times the width of an A2 card, and then just fold it down the middle. So super simple. What I'm doing is cutting off the height first from this piece of paper. It's a little bit thicker than paper, but not quite cardstock. So it's 12 by 12 in size, so I do need to trim that down. And then once I have this down, now I'm just going to trim the width that I need. So it's A2 times 2. I think that's 4.5 by, or 5.5 by 4.25, and then times 2. So I'm just marking this here, and then I'll trim that off quickly. And then I'm going to use my Martha Stewart paper folder. I have the larger one that I picked up, and I really like this because I can also make envelopes with it, but it has the grooves to do the scoring for the fold. So I use the folder that it comes with and find the center point, and then just score it quickly. It's super easy, and then bend it forward, and that creates my card base. So this is the beginning of the card. I'm going to use the folder just to fold down the edge where it's folded and make sure it's nice and flat. And so I cut this a little wide so that I could even up those ends, and so I'm just going to trim this off with my paper cutter, and so that way my edges are flush. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the pattern paper, exact same process. I'm going to trim it down to the height that I need first, and then I'm going to score it in the middle, cutting it down to the same width. So what I want to do is use this pattern paper as a liner inside of the card base that I made. And so I'm just marking here how long I need it, and so I'm going to trim that with my paper trimmer as well. And then I'm going to score this next, and then I should be able to fold that and fit it into that blue cardstock base, or card base, I guess. So here it fits pretty good. It's got a little bit of overhang, which I expected because of the fold, but I'll be able to trim that up really well and clean it up nicely. So I'm going to work on the embossing. Now this comes with an embossing folder. I've never used this, but this whole stamp set is from Sizzix, and so it works with my big Kick machine. And so this embossing folder, you can see, has a raised edge on the right, and then it has the matching inverted side on the left, and so that helps create the embossing by pushing the paper up inside when it's run through the machine. So this is actually to the size of a card, an A2 card, this embossing folder. So I'm just going to put the front part of my card inside of it, and then I'll show you how I prepare the plates. Now this is the platform that comes with the Sizzix machine, and so normally I just leave this as it is, as you see it, and I run it through with my die cuts to create the pop outs of my stamps. Now what you need to do for the embossing folder is pull back all the tabs. There's tab 2, tab 1, and then when you go to the next one, that's the one that you need. So this one here does also include embossing, but it's for different applications, different dies. So this base plate is the one that is for the embossing folder, and it actually says there that it is built for the embossing folder, and it talks about how to prepare your sandwich of plates to go through the machine. So it shows you the pictures, and I'm going to demonstrate how I set that up too. It's actually really easy. Now when you run your embossing folder through the Sizzix machine, you have it on top of this platform. You don't want to put the tabs back over, like leave them open and have them trailing out the end of your Sizzix. So here I have the card, and I'm going to put it inside the embossing folder for the front side, and that is the side that I want the impression on. And so I'm just going to line that up. I can see with the black, I can see where it hits the edge, and I can see through the embossing folder enough to know where the my card edge is and how to match that up. And so I'm just going to lay this on my first plate and then put the next Sizzix plate on top. And I'm going to leave that platform open as it is and run it through that way. So this way it will give me that embossing, and I'll bring this back to my desk and show you how this comes out. So as I lift this away, you're probably going to see as it hits the light, you can see the embossing, and it creates a really solid impression. There's no parts that are missed or that are weaker than others. It goes through really evenly and it creates a really solid impression, which is nice. So now I'm going to look at cutting out a window of my card base. And so I will be running this through my Sizzix one more time to create that cut. So I'm just using this for placement to make sure that my items are in the position that I want. I'm happy where everything is, how it's looking. Once I have this in place, I'm going to tape it down with some Post-it tape. Just quickly measure the edges, make sure that it's centered or close to center as I can get. And then I'm going to prepare this for running through the machine again. Now, when I run this through the machine, I'm going to put the flaps back together and do it the traditional way that I have all the flaps from the platform closed. And so this will make the platform higher and cut into the paper. Now, because I ran it through, I still have the embossing impression. It's a little bit weaker, but you can still see it. It's really strong still. And so this is the beginning of the card. And now I'm going to assemble this. I'm going to put the tape roller on the back part to hold the second part of the paper. So the insert. I'm not going to put any tape down the center. Normally I would do an X in the center, but I'm going to be writing on this background. So I don't want to have any tape disrupting my text. And I also want to write on the white side, so I want to make sure that that's facing up. It feels kind of weird to put the tape on the pattern side, but it makes sense in the end. So it's kind of like a book. And then this way, by only taping that right side edge, I make sure that it opens and folds nicely. There's no gapping or too much paper where when it's closed, it bulks up. And then I'm just going to trim off the overhang on those edges now that it's all assembled. I just want to interrupt the video for a few seconds. I just spent the last 45 minutes searching my craft room looking for the stamp that I plan to use on this card, and it was stuck to the back of my tape roller, which was put away on top of my bookshelf. I have been looking through every crack and crevice in this room. I have searched through garbage, I have searched through stamps, piles of paper, pens, scissors, everything. I have been looking high and low. So this card's taken a lot longer than I thought it would. But anyways, let's get back to the video. Now I found the stamp, I'm pretty excited. Let's keep going. Okay, so to continue on, I'm going to create the sentiment banner next. So I'm going to use the middle-sized die. This one doesn't go exactly past the edge. The biggest one overhangs, but this one goes just to the edge. Now I'm going to use VersaFine ink. I really love how VersaFine makes a really crisp, clean line with the stamp. And I'm going to use the stamp sentiment at the bottom of the Halloween dogs, which says, wishing you a treat-filled day, which I thought worked well with my little doggy stamp. So it's perfect fit. Okay, so I have to interject again here. I thought I was being really diligent and I was going to put my stamps away because I didn't want to lose another stamp. And so after I stamped this sentiment, I just stopped the camera so that I could put this away. As I was putting that stamp set away, I found this, oh my God, I found this dog stamp stuck to my stamp set. So I'm almost insane from this. I almost lost this again. So, I just don't know about this stamp. It is just got legs or something. It's got a mind of its own. So I'm going to put it on my light right here. I'm going to set it over to the side. You can't see this, but I'm going to put it right on my light. It can't stick to anything. I'm going to know where it is when it's time to stamp it in a few minutes. So I'm going to put this away. I'm just lucky that I felt it on the top because I wasn't looking. So now moving on, I'm ready to prepare my stamps. If the dog stays in place and I don't lose him one more time because he seems to have a mind of his own, I'm going to stamp all the little extras that are included with the set. So there's a bone and a tennis ball or a baseball and a food dish. So I want to add those accessories. Those are kind of treats or they can help match the sentiment with the card. So I'm coloring in the pooch first, and I've put the Copic colors on the side of the screen. I'm using Copic sketch markers, and these are the colors that I'm using to color the dog in. So I'm using the lightest color as my base and then creating shadows as I go down the color spectrum as they get darker. And then I did a tip-to-tip method as well, and I talk about that in my Copic series. Sometimes if a marker's too dark, I'll just pick it up, touch the tip of it with a lighter marker just to create an in-between color. And that helps with my shadows too, and helps with blending out the lines. And so for my pooch, I wanted to do his ears a little bit darker. I wanted to add some variegated color to him. So I'm doing this really pretty E19, which is my favorite redwood, and then coming in with a darker shadow color. Now for the accessories, I mentioned this is a baseball or a tennis ball. I saw it as a tennis ball, so I decided to color it in the bright vivid greens to complement the card colors as well. And then using some reds for my pooch's nose. These are really cartoony stamps, and I just wanted to exaggerate. Normally if I was doing a dog, I'd probably color the nose black or brown, but I thought that the red was kind of a typical cartoon color, so I kind of stuck with that theme. And then to soften that color so it wasn't such of a spot color, I used that red combination on the dish as well. And then coming in with E70, which is a really pretty Copic color I just picked up recently. I did the shadows on the eye and the bone. Now, I'm ready to run this through my Sizzix Big Kick machine, and I just want to put the dies in place. One thing I noticed about the dies after I use them is when it cuts them out right to the edge of the stamp. You want to make sure that you're lining up those dies perfectly, or you'll cut off part of your artwork. But the better thing about this is it doesn't leave that bulky white outline around your stamps, which I really like this. I thought this was really nice. I've never seen a stamp set like this before. And so I just took my marker and colored up the edges to keep it looking black, just rimming around the cut lines. And then I thought that this looked really nice. I thought that the dies came out really well. And none of them were off center either. They were all very precise. So now I'm using some craft glue to put the smaller pieces in place. I find that that's just easier instead of trying to squeeze my tape roller onto those small edges and having glue overhang and stick to the card. I'm going to put my Poochie on with foam tape, my favorite, and because he's popping through the window, this will help him sit up a little bit. And then I'll use my X-Acto knife when I have this ready to line it up, just so my hands aren't in the way and I can find center. As one last finishing element, I wanted to ground my Poochie to the scene, and so using a warm gray, I used W7 here, I'm just coloring in a shadow underneath the pooch so he doesn't look like he's floating in space. And then because of the cartoony look, I decided to add some white outlines, some highlight lines with my gel pen. This is a Uniball Signo gel pen. And so I thought that that came out really nice. And then I have this unique double folded card. Instead of just a common card, it has a few extra layers and a little bit of dimension. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was a little bit different, and I really enjoyed using the stamp set. I'm very pleased with it, and I do want to get more as well. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you're notified as I post more videos. Thank you so much for watching.